Hey everybody, Who's Your Jedi here with another review for you. This time I'm talking episode 12 of season 4 of The Walking Dead called Still. Now this is an interesting episode because one, it's an episode that's basically very strongly focused on contrasts and dualities. And another thing is that this is the first episode that's really been an episode where Beth has taken center stage. Now that's not to say that she hasn't had her moments in the show before, but she's never really been the focus of an episode. And of course, the focus of this episode is her and Daryl. But anyway, we'll get to what's going on with Beth and Daryl a little bit later on. Right now, I want to kind of focus in on some of the dualities that we see in this episode. Now, our two primary locations that we have the country club, and then we have a moonshiner's shack. That's about as big a contrast as you could ever ask for. And another thing is that in the country club, we see that despite everything that goes on when a zombie apocalypse breaks out, apparently at that country club, as evidenced by that whole rich bitch thing, well, apparently class warfare still found its place in that situation. And of course, we also get to see things like Beth ends up looting some clothes from the pro shop. And this is a little bit of a contrast because, Beth was not somebody who really came from a wealthy background. She's the daughter of a veterinarian. And while they seem to be certainly doing okay on Herschel's farms, they weren't Herschel's farm, they weren't rich by any means. And this is, of course, a contrast to Daryl, who pretty obviously grew up dirt poor. And of course, we also have the contrasting reactions to everything that's going on between Beth and Daryl. Daryl is just sort of gone numb to the whole situation, while Beth has become very emotional about things. She takes Daryl's "we're all screwed, everybody we knew back at the prison is almost certainly dead." Meanwhile, their reactions to what's going on around them also. Daryl focuses in, much like Michonne did, on simply survival, while Beth is looking for some way to just let out the emotions that she's feeling with. Daryl is focusing on the bare necessities of life, while Beth is focusing on trying to get herself mentally straight. Now, you can pretty easily make the argument that deciding to go out and get hammered in the middle of a zombie apocalypse after losing most of your group, probably not the wisest idea. But it's as Beth said, she's never been drunk before. She wants to have this rite of passage that everybody goes through, that first drink, despite everything that's going on. She wants to have that one little bit of normal teenage life in the midst of everything that's happening, because we do need a sense of normality, even when things are at their absolute worst. Just a simple little normal thing can bring enormous comfort. And I really do like how when they start really getting into it between Daryl and Beth, how she points out that she's not like Maggie or Carol or Michonne. Beth is not really the sort of person that you would really normally expect to have survived as long as she has in a zombie apocalypse. But as she points out, I'm still here. Now we've talked about how this new world, this new reality that she's found herself in, has really been hardening Beth. As like the way it's been hardening Lizzie and Mika and Carl and all the younger people on the show. I even said that if she can stay alive long enough, it's not really unrealistic to think that Beth could someday grow up to be an even harder person than Daryl. Which, given that she actually thinks that Daryl will probably be the last person standing out of all of their group, well, that really does say something. And it's not that Daryl doesn't think that Beth doesn't have the skills, like when she's fighting that walker with the wine bottle. Daryl's hanging back, there to step in if she has to. But even after Beth yells at him, she says, "You said you could handle it. You handled it." And that's about as close as Daryl Dixon gets to a compliment, folks. But anyway, getting back to what I said about the contrast between Daryl and Beth. Well, we've talked a little bit about the reactions to what happened, but when they get into that game of I Never, it becomes really clear that Beth really has had, for the most part, before everything went to hell, a pretty good and happy life. Well, Daryl, in contrast, well, we all know that Daryl's had a pretty crappy life, but he's played that pretty close to this. He's never really opened up about that to Beth. And the whole thing where she picks up Zach's game of guessing what Daryl would have done before the apocalypse broke out, guessing things like prison guard and motorcycle mechanic. Merle's sidekick was never even really on the list. But here, she sees that side to Daryl. And that's something she's not really been exposed to before. But again, this really does highlight that as a character, even Daryl has seriously grown as a person. We saw in what was it, season 2, I guess it was, him really opening up and connecting with Carol. And I like how they sort of brought back and in a roundabout way mentioned Sophia, because Sophia was a big part of that. Now you have to keep in mind though that Beth did not know Sophia. Alright? Basically she got bit by a walker and turned, and then it was Herschel who found her and stuck her in the barn. So Beth had no interactions with Sophia as a living person. That's why she just referred to her as that little girl. Which probably stung Daryl quite a bit. But to be completely fair, Daryl got Beth back a good one when he pointed out that she previously had been cutting her arms just to get attention. But again, look at how far these two characters have come. I mean, really, can you imagine season 2 Beth giving Daryl the finger? Now, she didn't have the spine for that in season 2, that's for sure. And then, of course, this all ends up with them burning down the moonshiner's cabin and both of them giving it the finger. But it's really not the cabin that they're doing that to. It's those hang-ups from the world before. Class warfare, bad memories, the need for attention, all of that. All of that is superfluous in this new world that they are in. This is the world where really only survival matters. Survival and having a few people in this world that you can count on. Having some people that you care about who will watch your back. And that does show that even in this hellish world full of horrible zombies that want to devour everyone, that valuing other people, not just for how they can help you stay alive, but because how they can help you stay human, that has value. Well, that's a really strong message. Of course, with nobody to put out there that fire, it's a pretty good chance that they might burn down half the forest, and as we saw, apparently that fire is going to attract zombies like nobody's business. I mean, literally within seconds of the cabin going up, there are at least 4 of those things shambling towards the cabin. So, yeah, probably not the best choice you ever could have made there, Daryl and Beth. But, hey, c'est la vie, right? Anyway, guys, that's all I have for you this time around. So, until next time, take care and have a good one. And, of course, you can follow me on Twitter @HoosierJedi.